Hello, everyone. Hopefully you all can hear me. Welcome to Reika's birthday webinar. A few reminders before we start here. Um, we have at the bottom of your screen, there's a few options for closed captions if you need them, if you want them. And you also have the option of the Q&A box, so you can type up any questions you have as we go through the webinar. Just another reminder, this is the end of our Ambassador Wolf birthday fundraiser. So I've also put that link in the chat here. Hopefully you can see that, but if not, let me know. So yeah, it has been, thank you to everyone that's here today and everyone that's helped support our Ambassador Wolves and our mission at the International Wolf Center. All of those donations really help us take care of our wolves and continue our mission. So with that being said, I'm gonna let Abby take over. She's gonna talk about Reika, her personality, a little bit about her life here at the International Wolf Center, and no better person because she knows Reika. She met Reika before anybody else did here. So I think this would be perfect.
All right, so for Reika, we got her on, I think it was a couple of days after her birth. Usually we get them, our pups are on like 10 to 12 days of age, and she was around 10 days old when we first met her. She was the only pup in her litter, so she didn't have any litter mates. Usually we get our pups in either pairs or trios, but because she was the only one, she had a little bit of a stronger relationship with humans. She kind of relied on humans a little bit more for comfort, for kind of making sure she's keeping in line, that type of thing. But because of that, she was a little bit more timid when she was going into the exhibit pack. She was also our smallest wolf ambassador introduction that we've ever done. She was only 23 pounds, so usually we introduce them when they're around 30 pounds or so, which tends to be about 3 months of age. But because her birthday was so late, May 23rd is a pretty late birth for wolves here in Minnesota. Usually it's somewhere in April. She just was a little bit smaller. She wasn't quite that 3-month mark yet. Plus, being a female too, though the female wolves tend to be a little bit smaller than male wolves. So you can see in these videos she's a little bit more hesitant to approach Axel and Grayson, who were the two wolves that she first met. And she's interested, she's approaching, but her tail's tucked a little, she's a little bit more skittish. But it didn't last very long. She definitely built her confidence up as she spent time in the enclosure. She seemed to have a little bit of a closer relationship with Grayson at first, especially. Grayson was much less kind of going towards her and approaching her. He was more letting her come to him, and he's a lot more tolerant with a lot of the interactions that she would initiate. Whereas Axel tended to be a little bit more higher energy, and she would kind of get a little bit, intimidated by that. So she seemed to kind of gravitate a little bit more towards Grayson at first. You can see her doing some inhibited muzzle biting, some jaw sparring. Still, not super confident. She is interacting from the rear there, which she still does to this day. A little bit of rear grabbing or tail grabbing, but that's just how wolves communicate. And as a pup, that's kind of how she learned too, because she wasn't really that confident. So, she definitely has grown a lot in confidence since these clips. Being 4 years old, she is the dominant female. She's the only female, but she's definitely got the personality to back up that dominant status as well. So there you can see she kind of retreated when she had a wolf approach her, but she's coming right back towards them. She's initiating some interactions. As we went into fall, we definitely saw more of a social relationship building between these three wolves. And then as we got into winter, you can see she's much, much more comfortable. She's doing some inhibited biting to Grayson's head there, which he is very tolerant of. Even to this day, he lets her get away with quite a bit. And then Axel, she definitely saw him more as a playmate, I would say. Definitely more social interactions involving kind of high energy play, some play bows, invite chasing, some pawing you saw there. But yeah, as we kind of watched her develop, we really saw that she needed an outlet for all of that energy. And then we decided to adopt 2 more pups in 2022. So that's Kaz and Blackstone as pups, and she took to them right away. She regurgitated for them. She was whining at the fence, just very, very much instinct taking over there. And there we can see her really high energy playing, some social interactions with Kaz there. Definitely kind of the puphood that she missed out on, being a single pup. So we believe that bringing in Kaz and Blackstone really kind of helped bring that out in her. She seemed to bond a little bit more with Kaz than with Blackstone. She spends a lot more time with him, but we still see some positive social interactions between her and Blackstone as well. And then she continues to show a lot of social interaction with Grayson, um, specifically this past winter. As Grayson got a lot more confident this winter, he's been initiating a lot of those interactions, and she will be much more comfortable with interacting with him when he's the one initiating it. So we adopted 2 more pups this year. I'm sure many of you have already seen, but we're continuing to see that positive, the introduction between her and the pups. Through the fence, she's tail wagging, she's whining, she's doing all the right things. So we're hoping for a good, successful introduction coming up. Um, but yeah, so that's a little bit about Rika. Hopefully, I kind of covered everything. Yeah, she's a pretty cool wolf. She's got a lot of personality. Um, so we have some enrichments for her and for everybody else, because of course you can't just give one wolf something, you have to give everybody something. So we made some enrichments with pork ribs, some beef tracheas that are stuffed with cheddar brats, which is a favorite of hers, some beef liver, some venison cake, some grouse feathers, and then of course some beaver tail, because that is her all-time favorite enrichment, is beaver tail. So we already have that all set up and ready to go in the pack holding area. So I'm going to step out and let Giselle take over. So if you have any questions, you can put them in the Q&A and Giselle will answer. And then once I'm out there, she'll share my screen and hopefully we see some wolves. Let me mute myself too, and I'll stop sharing as well.
Thank you so much, Abby. We'll see you on the other side. I'll probably start spotlighting her once she starts sharing, but thank you so much for that summary of Reika's life. I already have some really nice messages about Reika's celebrating her. I'm gonna spotlight Abby here. Yes, don't get dizzy while we get there. I see a comment here that was one time in her life that Reika had a mark around most of her face that made the shape of a heart. And we were just talking recently how much she's changed through the years. She used to look much darker, and you saw in the video how that changed also went. She's looking a lot lighter now, and that is just a very normal thing with wolves as they age. If you see a lot of the pictures of all of our wolves, they, you can see them from very young being kind of very bright coloration, and then those guard hairs start really getting lighter and lighter, just like with human, we get gray hairs, we get gray with age. So we're seeing a lot more of that lighter coloration with Rika too, as she turns 4 years old. But yeah, here's Kaz and Blackstone really ready for the enrichment right at the pack holding area gate. There goes Rika, and then Grayson. He's always a little bit hesitant and making sure that we're not closing behind us, but there they are investigating the enrichment. It's, again, we have 4 different cakes. It sounds like, or it seems like she did a little bit of guarding there. Even though we don't have any sound, I could tell she did a little bit of a gaze, and I could tell she did a little growl, even though I didn't hear that. But yeah, there's our birthday girl. I'm gonna see if I have any other questions from you. Somebody asked if they know their names. If we call their names, do they come? I cannot say for sure that they recognize their names. I think we certainly call them by their names, and when we're calling them down, we use their names. I think a lot of the responses we get, it's that they recognize our voices and they recognize the tones. Um, but I cannot confirm or deny if they really know their names. So yeah, that's a really good question. Um, Somebody's asking, what are the new pups' nicknames? Great question too. We are kind of keeping it a little bit of a mystery still. We do have some nicknames for them, but we do not want to skew the contest. So I'll share a link here, or actually it's not ready yet, but next week you should be able to start voting for the pup names. We're gonna have a couple of options for each pup, and you can help us choose a name for them. So keeping it a little bit of a secret yet. Yeah, so another question, where do we adopt our pups from? Usually our pups come from other professional animal organizations, USDA license, and we do a thorough check on all of their animal welfare um, um, protocols and any citations and all that. So usually we try to collaborate with other organizations that are happening to or planning on having pups, and we adopt from them. It is a very thorough process, very long process that starts years before we actually get the pups. Um, so yeah, and then Rika seems to like new pup. Yeah, the new pups. Here she is finally taking a little bit of a bite on her birthday enrichment. She is whining a lot at the fence. We've done a few kind of brief introductions at the fence, and she's doing her low sweeping tail wags and ears back, a lot of um, very positive kind of reactions to the pups, a lot of whining. We haven't seen any regurgitation yet, but it doesn't mean that it won't happen. Um, so yeah, we're all already seeing a lot of very positive reactions from her. Yeah, again, there's a very good question here. What behaviors are you looking for from the pack before we introduce them to the exhibit? Yes, so we are looking for um, low sweeping tails. There's going to be excitement sometimes, and that's normal. Um, we want to see maybe some salvation, some regurgitation, whining, just like an excitement that's not necessarily predatory or territorial. We want them to be kind of reacting in a nurturing way, which is why we also want to time that introduction when it's still kind of the prolactin levels, that nurturing hormone, we still have some good levels of that. So we usually do that towards the end of the summer. Um, and so also when the pups have reached a certain size and certain behavioral milestones. So they'll spend their whole summer in the pup yard, which if you come here in person for the pup viewing programs, you'll be able to see them in that area. And so they'll spend time kind of from fence to fence with the adult wolves, which helps with kind of like that slow introduction and getting familiar with each other and accepting each other as well. Yeah, and then I have a really good question here on why does Reika sometimes bite Grayson's hind legs or his rear area? Sometimes she seems to bite once and then run away. Does this cause any harm? That's an excellent question. Um, as Abby was saying, there was a little bit of we've seen this in many other wolves. How they kind of take advantage, and if they're not confident enough to do something face to face, they'll go from behind and do a bit of a grab. Sometimes that's just kind of testing or just taking advantage. It's kind of like a normal dynamic within the pack. Um, and it can cause certain harm. Like every day we go in and we try to look for any wounds, and there's almost, not on a daily basis, but every now and then there are bite wounds. And incredibly, it is incredible to see how resilient they are and how quickly, today they have this bite wound, and then tomorrow it's like all kind of healing up and scabbing and looking pretty good. So sometimes it does open skin, sometimes it doesn't. They do, especially in the winter, they have a very thick undercoat, and that kind of helps. It helps provide a little bit of a buffer there for those bites. But it's just kind of normal wolf behaviors, testing, and it kind of depends on the situation, kind of depends on what's happening around that time. Like sometimes when Reika does that to Grayson, she might be trying to maybe interrupt something that's happening. For example, I've seen that happen a lot when Grayson is um, maybe dominating or asserting himself over Cass, for example. Reika tends to go around and try to stop that. And I cannot tell you her reasoning. I wish we could ask her and see, hey, what's behind your mind here, but it's hard to know. But it is a pretty normal thing that we've seen in the pack throughout the years. Really good question. The best way to tell the difference between the new pups, and a little bit towards the end, I'll try to maybe see if they're awake and give you a sneak peek at the pups. But right now, we have a few things that help us distinguish between. And it's one of them, it's a little bit of a deeper black coloration. They're both dark. And he also, that deeper black one also has a marking that is more noticeable around his tail scent gland, where that will kind of develop. His face is also a little bit more narrow that we can see for now. And then the other one seems like a little bit more of a rounder face. And then his coloration tends to be, it is still kind of a dark coloration, but maybe a little bit more brownish. So again, that's going to change as you've seen with Cas and Blackstone. I feel like we're always kind of updating how to distinguish between those two. And the same way I think it's going to happen with these pups, it's going to be changing a lot, especially during that first year as, the guard hairs start coming in and we start seeing more of how they'll look like. Yeah, so I thought I heard Reika's parents were close to wild wolves. Is that true? Yes, I believe Reika's parents, so she's I think one generation removed from the wild. I think that's what it is. And they were wolves from British Columbia. So yes. Another good question, are they about 4 months old when you start introductions? Yes, it is a little bit earlier than that, around 3 months old or so, 3 to 4 months. It kind of depends when they were born. Our current litter, they were born April 22nd, so they'll be a little bit over 3 months probably when they go in. So yeah. Somebody is asking, where are the pup naming contests going to be? Is it on Facebook? Keep an eye on our social media because on the 28th, so I think it's Tuesday. Is that right? Wednesday, I think. As you can tell, I do not know what day it is because we've been really busy with pups. But on the 28th, you'll be able to start voting for the pup names. Another question here is, the ambassador wolves are all spayed or neutered? Yes, all of our ambassadors are spayed and neutered. So we're a non-breeding facility, which is why we have to collaborate with other facilities that are happening to have pups or plan to have pups. And yeah, I think that if we were breeding here, it would get it's kind of hard to manage with the level of staff that we have here too. We also, not in our exhibit, we have kind of like this limit of, I believe it's 7 or 8 wolves that we can have at a time. So we would very quickly with the years get overwhelmed, and we also don't have, I think, the capacity right now to have more than that. So let's see what other questions I have. I think this is a very common one. Do you think Reika will pair with Kaz? I wish I knew. I think it is likely. Um, they, like Abby was saying, they have a really good relationship. Um, so it's very likely that will happen. I we can't really say right now that they have pair bonded or that she has pair bonded with anybody, but it is very possible that she would do that with Cass in the future. Yeah. I think that introducing the new pups um will we'll have to continue kind of watching what that's gonna do with the other relationships in the pack, what that's gonna do with Reika's relationship with Grayson, with Cass, and with Blackstone, um, how their roles might kind of shift a little bit. So, um, can you tell much about the personalities of the new pups? Um, yes, already we're seeing some differences. One of them, it's a lot more kind of explores a lot more, or if he hears stuff happening outside with the pack, he tends to be more like, oh, I want to go check it out. While the other one is like, I'm gonna wait here, and so a little bit more, no, I wouldn't say timid, but um maybe a lot less kind of impulsive to go check out what's happening, and maybe just stand by. They are they're both, sort of developing their relationships with us, and it's very sweet to see. Um, we're starting to see them kind of do a little bit of face greetings and such. So it has been very, very interesting to be part of this process. I'm gonna see if I can. Let me see if the pups are in view right now. But if not, let me see. Sounds like they're snoozing. Yeah. So I'll keep answering questions, and we will keep posting video updates on YouTube and on our social media channels, so you can see them in action. And then again, the pub viewing programs will start June 3rd. So if you happen to be coming to Ely, that will be a really great opportunity to see the pups. And in our website, we'll have the wolf cam live streaming in our website to the pup yard from 9 to 5 p.m. Central Time. So that'll give you an opportunity to also watch them throughout the day. Um, I believe you can vote on the website for the pup names if you're not on Facebook. Um, I believe you can still access that link on our website. We'll make sure to make that available for folks that are not on Facebook. Reika's eyes, their color. Sorry, I have another question. What color are Reika's eyes? I'm really bad at describing colors because of my language, but they're green, kind of like a lighter green. Beautiful color, beautiful color. Um, and then in terms of subspecies of the new pups, that's a great question. I think overall the IWC, the Wolf Center, kind of moving away from using specific subspecies designations. So right now we don't really know exactly what subspecies, if we were to, they are, or and really not using those designations. We do have more information on that in our website too, if you want to check it out. And then I see any other questions. Oh, there are more questions. Is the darker one the one that is more into exploring, or is it the more brownish? The darker one is the one that's more into exploring. And they both explore, but I think the darker one seems to be like more willing to kind of I forget what the word is, but more willing to go and do it. Um, Do you ever adopt wild pups that can't be released back to the wild? We haven't um, done that. Um, but I know of other places that, yeah, they do take wild wolf pups. I think it's just um, there's a lot of limitation. It's very like unpredictable when that would happen. But yes, I don't think in any of our litters we've had wild wolf pups adopted here. Excuse me. Another good question, do you think Grayson will continue to be pack leader once the pups are introduced? It is very possible. Very likely that he'll continue to be the leader. It'll kind of depend, like I said, on how the other wolves are reacting as well. What are their roles are likely to change. Their interactions are likely to change. But I think Grayson right now he's a pretty solid leader right now. So we're kind of hoping that will remain that way. And there we see, is this Blackstone? It's Blackstone with one of the birthday cakes or birthday enrichments. Now we are outside of the pack holding area. Really, really nice shot of Blackstone there. Let's see. I have another question here. What is the difference between having two leaders in a pack, like Reika and Grayson seem to be, and then how will this differ when she pair bonds? If with Cass, will this mean he becomes the leader automatically? That is a really excellent question. Very good question. And I don't know that I have a good answer for it. It will likely, if Reika pairs with Kaz, it will likely not be a good, not that it won't be a good, but it will likely change things for Grayson. Because I think maybe pair bonding with Reika might bring maybe even more confidence or something like that for Cass. I think what will kind of tell is how Cass continues to react to Grayson. So if Cass continues to be submissive to Grayson, the way that he's been, I think Grayson will continue to be kind of like that dominant individual. It's kind of hard to really tell, but usually when they pair, those two leaders pair bond, that's usually who is kind of the dominant ones, but I think it will just depend a lot. Cass is still very submissive to Grayson, and so is Blackstone. So it kind of will depend how Cass behaves. So we'll see. What month will the new pups be put in with the other wolves? So far, the plan is usually towards the end of the summer, so that tends to be end of July, early August. It kind of depends on what milestones they've hit. So we'll certainly share some information around that time. But all right, I think let's see what other questions. Yes, so like we said, yes, you'll be able to see the pups. So starting on June 3rd, from 9 a.m. to 5 p.m. Central Time, you'll be able to watch the pups in the pup yard before they join the exhibit pack. It will be live streaming from our website. So you'll have to go into wolf.org and find wolf cams, and there you can see the exhibit pack camera and you'll be able to see the pup yard cam, but that doesn't start until June 3rd. So we have a little bit of time. We're still kind of getting the pups used to the pup yard, and they're still quite young. So they spend a lot of time in our wolf care center, which I'm gonna again check if they are awake. And they're out of view, so I'm so sorry. But again, you'll be able to definitely see them in the updates. All right. So with that being said, I want to quickly say thank you so much for joining today. And if you haven't done so and you would like to support the International Wolf Center and our Ambassador Wolves, we have the Ambassador Wolf birthday fundraiser link here in the chat. So if you're able to help out, that's great. And if not, thank you so much still for joining the webinar and following our wolves and supporting our mission. So thank you so much for being here, and we'll see you next time. It looks like she's doing a flex leg urination there, marking her cash. So a good way to end the webinar. We'll see you guys next time. The next webinar will be in August, and it'll be all about that pup intro into the pack. So we'll see you then.